Okay, so it's that time of year again when the new Football Manager game is out and my DMs get flooded. Okay, maybe not flooded, but I do get a lot of requests from people asking for advice about getting a new PC or a laptop for the new Football Manager game. And for the first time in years, I've actually bothered to put something together to give those people some advice where they need it the best. So, here we go. My name is Matt. I'm a podcast host, occasional video creator, partnered Twitch streamer, and a professional voiceover artist. And here is my guide to buying a computer for Football Manager 2021. So before we go too far into the nuts and bolts of this video, quick advert for my streams. I usually stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 11 PM till whenever I finish. So if you do want to check my streams out, then by all means do. And also, if you have any of your burning tech questions, by all means, check me out live and go ahead and ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may or may not have, although I don't know why you wouldn't come and ask never mind. Now, if you are a content creator, this video might not quite be what you're looking for, but I will be putting together similar videos just for you to either help you go up a level or just for beginners looking to, jump into content creation for the first time. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel to get notified of when I release those videos just for you. Over the past few years, Football Manager's minimum specifications haven't really changed a whole lot. I've got some screenshots from Football Manager 2017 specifications all the way up to Football Manager 2021, which the beta has just released. Hopefully by the time, as long as I've timed this video about right. From FM20 to FM21, there is a doubling of the RAM requirement compared year on year, and also they've dropped an older processor type that supported just single core processors. That's the Intel Pentium 4. But if you're watching this video, that probably means very little to you, so that is why I'm putting this together for you to help you understand. And I do have a bit more evidence to help you along with that as well. Despite me saying that the specifications for Football Manager haven't really increased a lot over the more recent years, there has been continual optimization by the Football Manager team, the developers at SI, and that's actually been confirmed by Miles Jacobson himself, where he did a little test tweet a couple of days ago saying just that optimization of saving has increased massively, and also overall game speed has increased by about 14%, I think he said. And that is actually backed up by the evidence I'm using to sort of suggest what you should be looking for if you are looking for a new laptop or PC. Now, I do have 20 plus years PC building experience and component selection that I've given people advice on for many, many years, including many Football Manager creators as well. Not mentioning any names at all though, because they're like Batman. Anonymity is an important thing. What's that nonsense? Anyway, that's why I've made myself laugh with that. This video has been made possible thanks to the benchmarking threads on the official Sports Interactive forums, which are freely available to anyone with a login. So if you haven't signed up, and to be honest, if we're still in beta period when you're watching this, you should absolutely be signed up so you can log bugs during the beta period. If it's after that, then hopefully everyone's done their job and we're now seeing a highly polished game, right? What those benchmarking threads have enabled me to do is actually look through and give me much more test data to look through and compare with different specifications, so I can advise you in the best way possible when it comes to approaching buying a new laptop or PC, particularly for Football Manager. So here we go then. Let's dive right into it. What this won't be is an exhaustive list of this laptop will work, this computer will work, buy this, buy that. It's not going to be this at all. This is going to be a relatively loose guide so that you can look at specifications yourself and compare them with what I've said with what is on offer for your budget and see how what you're looking to buy stacks up against this list. I will put in the description some suggestions for both laptops and desktops at a variety of different price points to help you along. Some will be affiliate links, some won't be. So the ones that are affiliate links, I might get a little bit of a kickback from. Let's get started with the CPU or processor then. When it comes to Football Manager performance, there is a bit of a glass ceiling that it predominantly only uses 2 cores unless you are live searching for a player or a club in the search bar at the top of the game, in which case if you do have more cores available it will use more cores, but only at that time. So I'm going to recommend for laptops or desktops a minimum of 4 cores. Now there are a couple of reasons why for that. First of all, you are future-proofing yourself slightly by doing that, so that if in future Football Manager does start to support more multi-core processors, it means you're not going to be left in the lurch after just upgrading this past year. I don't know how likely that is going to be. As I highlighted earlier, things haven't changed an awful lot, although optimization has been improved year on year the past few years, which is always a great thing. But also, if you are like me and you like watching videos or listening to music via certain music services or whatever else, but you're using the computer to do those things whilst you are playing Football Manager, having something else not get bogged down whilst you're processing or playing matches and what have you, or saving, then it's always great to have a little bit in reserve. So future-proofing and being able to do other stuff at the same time is always a good thing. Plus, it's kind of hard to actually get hold of dual-core processors or lower anymore. There are some which are really low budget, but if you are looking at that sort of scale of things, I would suggest keeping hold of your money. And the reason I'm saying that is you're not going to get bang for your buck by spending less money on a new computer, which is effectively going to have the same performance as your old computer, if that makes sense. So whilst you will be spending more money later on, at least you're not spending, say, £300 or £400 now and then having to spend £600 later on down the line. So effectively £1,000 over 2 years, you'd just be spending £500 or £600 later on. So in the long term, you are saving yourself a bit of extra money. Some specific examples for CPUs or processors then are for laptops. Look at the AMD, you'll be looking for in the specifications, look for the AMD 3500U, and on the Intel side of things, look for an i5 9300H or above. Now these are slightly older processors and there are newer ones available, but look, that's where the level you should be starting to look at. And because they are slightly older, you'll maybe get a bit of a deal on those. On the desktop side, I'll be looking at an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. I think that's actually a 6-core processor, but that's the price difference between the 4-core offerings from AMD and the 6-core is kind of negligible, and I would much rather push you towards getting the 6-core than the 4-core, because you're getting much more bang for your buck, even though you're only paying a little extra buck. Something like that. On the Intel side of things, for a desktop, I would be looking at an i5 9400F or maybe a 9600 and then upwards. As is the technology industry, it's always fast moving, so there will be new parts, and there are already new processors available above these models that I've suggested to you, but these are a very good starting point, and you will still see lots of pre-built systems and laptops featuring these, which is why I've suggested them rather than going for the more expensive, newer options. Obviously, if your budget extends to those, knock yourselves out. Next up then is RAM, or memory. And although on the Steam specifications listed, Football Manager 21 does require double the RAM than when compared to Football Manager 20, you can get away absolutely with 8 gigabytes. And it's a similar reasoning behind this as to what I was suggesting for the processors. One gives you a bit of future-proofing if the RAM requirement doubles again next year. Unlikely, but it might. It also leaves you with a bit of extra headroom for doing other things whilst you're playing Football Manager. And likewise, although the RAM requirement has increased this year, most older computers from within the past 8 years or so will still have plenty of RAM. Next up is storage, which is not the same as memory, but it's your hard drive or SSD or NVMe or any other acronyms that store your files on your computer. Now, I would always recommend, especially in this day and age, going for an SSD, especially as they are so cheap compared to just, 3 or 4 years ago. It's much faster than a standard hard drive, So whilst a hard drive may have more storage for the same price, in fact it will have a lot more storage for a lot less, but the data access speeds on a SSD or solid state drive are much faster than a standard mechanical hard drive to make it worth the punt. And also, a minimum of 128 gigs on an SSD, you'll easily see that in most laptops, even the slightly cheaper end of the scale. And with Football Manager, if that's all you're doing on the computer, you don't really need a huge amount of space. Even larger save files sort of won't get larger than a couple of gig. And even if you are using various add-ons and extra databases, extra certain graphical elements, we'll stop there. But if you are using those as well, or wanting to use those, then even if you use pretty much all of them, you don't need a huge amount of hard drive space or SSD space to be able to store all of that. So 128 gig as a minimum is easy to achieve even on the lower end. And finally, you want to be looking for a laptop or a desktop that has a dedicated graphics card by either Nvidia or AMD. The reason why I'm suggesting a dedicated graphics card compared to an onboard graphics card is if you are spending money on the upgrade, you want to make it worth your while, much like why I've suggested similar things for the processors and the memory, that if you are upgrading from, say, a £400 laptop from a few years ago, if you buy another £400 laptop, you are buying like-for-like performance, relatively speaking. Yes, it may be a little bit faster in game processing, but ultimately your in-game experience in match won't be much different. Obviously, this does mean that you'll probably be looking at a slightly higher end of the scale compared to what you were maybe looking at, but I would much rather, in my opinion, spend an extra £200, say, and get something with a dedicated graphics card than spend £400 and wish I'd spent it later on. And while this video isn't exactly intended for content creators, if you do maybe have that little niggle in your mind thinking and making you consider whether you want to step into it, it gives you that option right off the bat, so you don't have to spend any more money later on down the road. If you're looking more at the desktop scale of things, you will probably be spending less money to get the same specifications purely because you are paying for a much smaller form factor, and so things tend to be a bit more expensive, strangely, because less is more money at the very least. Regardless of whether you're looking at a laptop or a desktop, some specific examples for graphics cards on the Nvidia side are the GTX 1650, 1660 and 1660 Ti. Now all of these will do a fantastic job for Football Manager, maybe not if you're looking to go for more serious gaming titles, but should be more than enough to get you started. On the AMD side of things, you'll be looking at an RX 5500 XT. If I've remembered that correctly, it's a bit of a mouthful. Now, time will obviously date this video, and although there have been some new graphics cards from both AMD and Nvidia released recently, they haven't released their more budget-orientated cards just yet. So when they do, I'll probably update this video with some other options once they are released, if the prices kind of make sense to suggest them to you. That brings us to the end of the video then. Thank you for watching, hopefully you found it useful, and if you are still struggling, having a bit of a predicament with which computer or laptop you want to purchase, by all means drop me a DM on Twitter or contact me when I'm live on Twitch, Mondays, Wednesdays or Fridays from 11 PM, and I'll try and help you out as best I can. If you haven't already checked out the WeStream FM Discord server, make sure you do that for all of your FM goodness, and also listen to the 5-Star Potential podcast if podcasts are your thing. Quick reminder that if you are a content creator, make sure you're subscribed, because I've got a few more videos planned that are more tailored towards what you might need for whatever content creation is your bag, whether it be live streaming, video creation or podcasts that are going to be coming up in the near future. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel to get notified of when I release those. The only thing I have left to do is ask you to click like if you have found this useful, and thanks for watching. Goodbye for now. Although they're slightly older, it doesn't mean they're bad at performancing. That's the self-promotion flatulence. Flatulence? Does that work? Flatulence. Do I just say I farted lots of promotion out. Over the past few years, Football Manager things have adjusted slightly. There's double the RAM requirement, double the wham, and that's actually been confirmed by Miles Jacobson himself. Jacobson manager have, or that Sports Interact in the. You can throw thousands of money. So whether you are extra bits that I've said apart until I sort of two core dominant to the other reasons that I've suggested for turning into bloody quagmire.